housekeeping things, one upcoming program, and I will turn the program over. And these screens will move before we're too far into the program, so those of you there, don't despair.
Could you say what you just said again? Because I had no idea what you just said.
This is a real test to me, actually. Does anybody know what I just said?
Don't worry about it.
All right. I'm a mumbler, but I'm not that bad. I'm just going to tell you two things, and then I'm going to get out of the way. That's what I said. The first one is the bathrooms are in the basement. You have to take the elevator. There aren't any stairs, so there aren't any stairs. If you have a phone, please turn it off, because inevitably, you know, your ringtone will go off. A week from tonight, there will be the third talk or presentation in this series, and this is Dying to Talk About It, a forum on death and dying, which will be 5 panelists and a moderator. There will be an introduction by each of the 5 panelists. They will make some statements, and then there'll be a Q&A from the audience. So that is a week from tonight, 7 p.m. That's it for me.
I know I'm dying, and I'm not that far from death. It's scary and it's humbling. These aren't tears of fear.
It's good to be grateful. It's time to have that.
How would you feel about touching my hand?
Sure.
You don't have to.
You know, Mark told us. Hail Mary, full of grace, blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Hail Mary, Mother of God, please pray to God for us, now and in the hour of our death. Jesus, Mary, Joseph. Praise to you, Mama, who receives all her children home. Mama, you see us, and you see one of your children here, Daryl, who's coming home. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for this day. Grandmother, grandfather, to you for help we pray. Grandmother, grandfather, won't you show us the way?
from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. Do you ever think of yourself as actually dead, lying in a box with a lid on it? Nor do I, really. It's silly to be depressed by it. I mean, one thinks of it like being alive in a box. One keeps forgetting to take into account the fact that one is dead, which should make a difference, shouldn't it? I mean, you'd never know you were in a box, would you? It would be just like being asleep in a box. Not that I'd like to sleep in a box, mind you. Not without any air. You'd wake up dead, for a start, and then where would you be? Apart from inside a box. That's the bit I don't like, frankly. That's why I don't think of it. Because you'd be helpless, wouldn't you? Stuffed in a box like that? I mean, you'd be in there forever. Even taking into account the fact that you're dead, it isn't a pleasant thought. Especially if you're dead, really. Ask yourself, if I asked you straight off, I'm going to stuff you in this box now, would you rather be alive or dead? Naturally, you'd prefer to be alive. Life in a box is better than no life at all, I expect. You'd have a chance at least. You could lie there thinking, well, at least I'm not dead. In a minute, someone's going to bang on the lid and tell me to come out. Hey you, what's your name? Come out of there.
Hello, everybody. Wow, standing room only. A lot of people might want to die in here, huh? So, before I introduce myself fully, I've got a few questions for you. Show your hand. Who in the room is going to die? Come on. Come on. Everybody. Very good. Let me ask you a question. Did you hesitate at all? A little bit. Maybe just a smidge. See somebody shaking their head over there. And that's part of why I'm talking here tonight. It's about the denial of death in America. So, as I continue on, denial is not a river in Egypt, is it? From Webster's dictionary, refusal to admit the truth or reality of something is what denial is. Example, you've been married for 40 years. 20 of them have been horrific, but you've stayed together, you don't talk about it, you don't do anything. That's a form of denial. Another form, I wake up, I happen to be 80, I wake up when I'm 45. I go, what the hell's that? And I got a big lump under my arm. But guess what? I don't tell myself, I don't tell my wife, I don't tell anybody. Why? Because I'm terrified. And that's another form of denial. So the title of this being Denial, we're here tonight to get us more interested in death and dying, for lack of a better way of saying it. So I'm Darrell Rudy, and I have to say this, although it's not written here. This is my partner, Barbara.
who helped me out of the casket. And we'll talk about that later. I'm 80 years old. I live in St. Johnsbury. I have Alzheimer's disease. I was diagnosed 4 years ago. She knows who I'm waving to. I will die of Alzheimer's unless something else kills me first. I want to repeat that. I will die of Alzheimer's. So that's why I'm doing this tonight. And there's compassion behind this. The more we know, the less we fear. The less we fear, the less we suffer. I happen to be a Buddhist. I've been a Buddhist for, hate to say this, I don't hate to say it, I'm afraid to say it, 50 years of being a practitioner in Buddhism. And I want to move on to Big Ed, the guy who was singing. And is he coming on again? Is he going to, will you be able to get him? I wanted to have a photo of him again, the photo that we had. And I call him Big Ed. My neighbor, mine and Barb's neighbor, he wrote this song when I told him I was planning this presentation. And why? Took up a little bit, dedicate this performance and this presentation to Big Ed. He lives next door to Barb and me, and he's suffering right now. He's a little over Barb's age, and he has some serious health problems. And so we felt it was so important to dedicate this to him. He's the best neighbor we could ever have imagined to have. He and I drink cognac in the winter, smoke these teeny little cigars, and talk about life and death. And it's wonderful. And he lives right next door. So, what else? Did I forget anything? Oh my God, I didn't forget anything. So now I'm going to offer you a variety of poetry, theater pieces, and other writings that speak to death. So let's move on the readings and go beyond that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, as I have written up here, pause between all poems because I don't want to rush. So I'm going to start off, there's this guy, I'm not sure if you all know him, not overly well known, William Shakespeare. From Cymbeline, by medicine life may be prolonged, yet death will seize the doctor too. From Much About Nothing, by none other William Shakespeare. Everyone can master a grief, but he that has it. From Romeo and Juliet, death lies on her like an untimely frost upon the sweetest flower of the field. Another one by Shakespeare, Hamlet, not the long one by Hamlet. Thou'st is common, all that lives must die, passing through nature to eternity. From Julius Caesar by none other than William Shakespeare. Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste death but once. Of all the wonders that I have yet heard, it seems to be me most strange that men should fear, seeing that death, a necessary end, will come when it will come. And Measure for Measure by William Shakespeare. If I must die, I will encounter darkness as a bride and hug it in my arms. And this is from Henrik Ibsen, famous Norwegian playwright, from When We Dead Awaken. When we dead awaken, we see that we have never lived. And this is a poem by Ellen Bass, and it's called If You Know. What if you knew you'd be the last to touch someone? If you were taking tickets, for example, at the theater, tearing them, giving them back the ragged stubs, You might take care to touch that palm. Brush those fingertips along the line's crease. What a man pulls his wheel suitcase too slowly through the airport, when the car in front of me doesn't signal, when the clerk at the pharmacy won't say, thank you. I don't remember they're going to die. A friend told me that she'd been with her aunt. They just had lunch, and the waiter, a young gay man with plum black eyes, joked as he served the coffee, kissed her aunt's powdered cheek when they left. Then they walked half a block, and her aunt dropped dead on the sidewalk. How close does the dragon's spume have to come? How wide does the crack in heaven have to split? What people look like if we could see them as they are, soaked in honey, stung and swollen, reckless, pinned against time. And this one's kind of Jack Kerouac, one of my old favorites, and it's pretty long. In my medicine cabinet, the winter fly has died of old age. I love that one. So this is where it gets a little fun for me here. This is a poem called Splash, and it's by this guy named Charles Bukowski. There may be a few in here, are old enough and followed him. I call him Uncle Chuck. And I learned about him way back in the late 70s, or in the mid 70s, when I lived in Santa Barbara, California, and he was out there somewhere in the West Coast. And I lived there was a communal of us, of people that started this theater company, and we all lived together. And those were my Bukowski days. I was also dropping a little acid and that kind of thing. We don't have to get into that. Art just made a face. So he also, 1987, they made a film, and I saw that film called Barfly. And it was about Charles Bukowski and his wild and brilliant life. And he was wild and brilliant. He was a wild man. He drank till the earth came to an end. He did everything with prostitutes. He moved here and there. He just was truly on the edge of life all the time. And interestingly, I just found out today by doing something online, I was shocked when I learned he lived to be 77 years of age. I figured he'd gone down the river at least in his early or mid-50s. Didn't happen. But I'm going to read his poem. The illusion is that you're simply reading this poem. The reality is that this is more than a poem. This is a beggar's knife. This is a tulip. This is a soldier marching through Madrid. This is you on your deathbed. This is Li Po laughing underground. This is not a goddamn poem. This is a horse asleep, a butterfly in your brain. This is the devil's circus. You're not reading this on a page. The page is reading you. You feel it? It's not like a cobra. It is like a cobra. It's a hungry eagle circling the room. This is not a poem. Poems are dull. They make you sleep. These words force you to a new madness. You've been blessed. You've been pushed into a blinding area of light. The elephant dreams with you now. The curve of space bends and laughs. You can die now. You can die now as people were meant to die. Great, victorious, hearing the music, being the music, roaring, roaring, roaring. Thank you, Uncle Chuck. So now, hello back there. Now I'm going to read a poem called The Blue Changes. And this was written by Rachel Ladas, who's here tonight, and a friend of mine and Barb's. And she comes from a different world than Uncle Chuck, and she's a brilliant poet. And she was wonderfully kind to go through her poetry work and come up with several poems of hers that I could select. And I selected 2 of these, and I'm beyond delighted to be able to read these. So here I go. Channel, brook, stream. Call it a river that flows past the hospital in different shades and season of blue, glittering harmlessly in noonday sun. Then a sudden change. Yesterday he was alive, today he is dead. He seems to be more alive now that he's dead. A continuous transition, one flowing river twisting and turning, meandering through change. Some days we gazed out at it from the hospital solarium, basking sleepily in the sun. Right up until the end, I took that blue gaze for granted. One day, no more blue, not where that came from. Once a person is dead, they no longer see the light of the sun. He's standing on the far bank of the river, tiny as a dollhouse now. The hospital is no longer home. I turn to face the change. There's no way to anticipate the change flooding from anger red to twilight blue. One August afternoon in the hospital, from the room across the hall, they wheeled a dead person. That day, the photogenic river was a regatta, sailboats, sparkling sun. Mysterious adjustments out of the sight of the sun. The current flowing toward the harbor changes its mind to black ships anchored in the river. Night sky blue or light sky blue, which is the proper hue to drape the dead. The city has become one hospital, and not the healing kind of hospital, but a place of transformation, father, son, mother. Whole families emerge, not dead exactly, but bewildered by the change. All winter you can hear the sharp wind blow, then the rain and the snow melt thaw the frozen river. The hospital has vanished. He is dead. I look up, blue sky, sun. Turn backward in your courses, sacred rivers. Now the address book. This is another poem by Rachel Hadass. When it came to deaths of friends, my mother's practice was to X out their names in the address book. I draw 1/6 diagonal slash, as if the name, address, phone numbers all were a mistake. Then in the lower right, an afterthought or postscript or correction, one last date. The book whose pages I'm turning now offer no such delineations of before and after, lived and died. Each day lifts up a fresh face, all the cleaner for having forgotten its own name. Thank you, Rich. And this is from, Barbara and I are currently in an online program from a gentleman that we don't fully know, but know of him, and I've done a number of retreats with him online. His name is Andrew Holochek, and he's written a book called Preparing to Die that's this thick and quite marvelous. And Barb and I are now in this 3-month program. It's all online and dealing with death and dying from a number of, a number of views, and that specifically with being very, very, very honest about death and dying. So I got this out of that book. Demographer Carl Hug, using 50,000 BCE as his starting point, calculated that including the 7 billion people now alive, around 108 billion have walked on this planet. That means over 100 billion have already died. Accounts vary, but between 156,000 and 250,000 people die each day. It's pretty amazing. And now Rumi, the Persian poet, death, I love this one, Death is our wedding with eternity. And Chogyam Trungpa, some of you, maybe most of you know of Chogyam Trungpa. He started Karma Choling down the road here in Barnet, and he died a number of years ago. Quite a brilliant man. I believe dying to be a great opportunity for people to come to terms with their whole lives. We're really giving them the chance to prepare and to find their own powers of strength and the meaning of their lives. Stephen Jobs. Never thought Stephen would be talking about death. You okay over there? Okay, thank you. Remembering that I'll be dead soon is the most important tool I've ever encountered to help make me the big choices in life. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. That's old Steve Jobs. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. I'm sure many of you know of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. If you begin to see death as an invisible but friendly companion on your life's journey, you can learn to live your life rather than simply passing through it. And this is by B.K.S. Iyengar. To the yogi, death is the sauce that adds spice to life. And this is from Sogyal Rinpoche, another Tibetan teacher, Buddhism. And I like this. I like all, they're all amazing. It is crucial now that an intelligent vision of death and dying should be introduced throughout the world at all levels of education. Children should not be protected from death, but introduced while young to be true nature of death and what they can learn from it. Why not introduce this vision? It's in its simplest form to all age groups. Knowledge about death, about how to help the dying, and about the spiritual nature of death and dying should be made available to all levels of society. It should be taught in depth and with real imagination in schools and colleges and universities of all kinds. And especially, and most important, it should be available in teaching hospitals to nurses and doctors who will look after the dying and who have so much responsibility to them. And I would say this, that I think that is beginning to happen in our country. I think there is a little more awareness and people are willing, there's just this movement that I know is happening. And here's another one by Chogyam Trungpa. The vanguard of death is uncertainty and complete bewilderment. It would be much healthier and more helpful to eliminate directly to this possibility, to relate directly to this possibility, rather than just ignoring it. And Plato says it quite simply, practice dying. Anyen Rinpoche, if we are duly prepared, I can promise that the moment of death will be an experience of rejoicing. If we're not prepared, it will be surely a time of fear and regret. William Shakespeare again, he keeps coming back. Be still prepared for death, and death or life shall thereby be the sweeter. And this is from Montaigne, who's a 16th century French essayist and philosopher. Men come and go, and they trot and they dance, and never a word about death. All well and good. Yet when death does come to them, their wives, their children, and their friends, catching them unaware and unprepared, then what storms of passion overwhelm them? What cries, what fury, what despair? To begin depriving death of its great advantage over us, let us adopt a way clean contrary to the common one. Let us deprive death of its strangeness. Let us frequent it. Let us get used to it. Let us have nothing more often in mind than death. We do not know where death awaits us. So let us wait for it everywhere. To practice death is to practice freedom. A man who has learned to die has unlearned how to be a slave. And that's my last reading. And now I'm going to offer you something. we will have an opportunity to talk about death, and Barbara will come up. Let me get off my tiring legs and give you an invitation and what, Barbara? And the information. And I'm going to go around this way. My legs are a little wobbly today, so forgive me.
Wow, I feel like we've been marinating in death, which we think is good, actually. And so now that we have spent time listening to poets and other artists and writers and singers and all share ideas and thoughts about death, now we get an opportunity to share our own thoughts. So, this is how it's going to work. I'm actually, hang on. Okay. So, I'm going to ask everyone, without moving much, to turn to the person next to them or nearby. We're going to pair up, and we're going to have just one conversation with one other person. So however you want to find a partner, and this is how it's going to work. So there's person one and person two, and you can decide which is which. I will ring a bell. Person one will speak to these two questions, which are, what are your thoughts about death and dying? And what did this performance presentation bring up for you? Person one will have 3 minutes to share. Person two just listens. I'll ring the bell again, and you'll switch. Person two will talk for 3 minutes. Person one will listen. I'll ring the bell again, and then you will have 5 whole minutes of just free exchange with each other. And then when I ring the bell the last time, you're done. Do we get it?
What was the last thing?
The last thing was I'll ring the bell after, so you'll have, the last segment is 5 minutes of just free conversation like normal. You can both talk or listen or whatever. Just sharing a little more in a normal, typical way. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So, does everybody have a partner? Does anybody not have a partner? Okay. You do not have a partner? You do have a partner. You don't? Okay. Daryl, do you want to go back and be the partner of the last person in the room? Okay. So person one will begin right now. person 2 talks, person 1 listens, same questions. Conversation together about the 2 questions. And I think we'll make this just another 3 minutes. Begin.
It's a good segue.
you for so enthusiastically engaging in that exercise. Appreciate it. Daryl, you have closing remarks?
If I go, thanks, my partner. She was wonderful. So, I have over here, thank all of you for coming out tonight, but I have to say it, thank you all. It's so wonderful to see that the place is full and everybody was really talking during this episode, or if you want to call it an episode. But I wanted to just take a few minutes to give people special thanks who deserve it. This is where I get to cry. If I can't tell you what she's done for this, we've been together for 17 years, and we've had, at least from my point of view, an amazingly open, spacious, caring, giving. Oh, we have our doodads here and there. But I can tell you, we have a very intimate relationship. Barb has been, she's the one that said to me, Daryl, I think you better go for a checkup for Alzheimer's. And I said, you gotta be kidding me. I'm a stud. Of course I didn't say that. And sure enough, I went and they gave me the first test and they said, well, you gotta come back for another one. And sure enough, there it was. And I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And I'll tell you, if I could be with anybody else on the planet, I wouldn't want to do it. Barb has been so exceptional, so remarkable, so giving. I can't drive anymore. That's one of the things that happened. And Barb takes me, and I get a little flicky if Barb's going too long, too far, and I go with her and I go have coffee. And she's gotten me involved with this Alzheimer's treatment program, and she's done so much. We've been driving down to Burlington. Oh, not Burlington, Bennington. I get Burlington and Bennington mixed up. And I just wanted to do this. I got that out of the way. And I didn't cry too much. So I have to thank Ed Morgan for his song. Ed, he came over and spent a lot of time with me doing that. And he's just been spectacular. And he wrote that song so fast, came over, brought his guitar, played it, and then he copied it. It's just amazing what he did. And it's so unfortunate that he can't be here tonight, and I just wanted to re-thank him. So, and then Athenaeum, they've done the this is the Wednesday night series. There he is over there, Scott Davis, who's extremely helpful to us for setting up and figuring out about what we might do and bring that table over to put the casket on it and that kind of thing. And then there's that guy standing right behind him who's the greatest librarian in the history of librarians. And I want to thank Shalom Gorwitz, who's sitting back there, as he I did this movie, Days of Atonement, with him a couple of years ago, and that was me that you saw in the film, as most of you probably knew. And he gave us the technical assistance to do all this. Ed Morgan was going to do this because he's into that whole world. And fortunately, Shalom, who's a filmmaker and a professor, retired, is here temporarily. He goes back to his other place, but we have him here for a while. I'm so thankful he and his partner, wife, are here tonight. Greg McNally and Toon for lugging the coffin here. Are you folks here? Where are you? They're not here. Oh, I thought they were here. Karma Trolling for letting us borrow the, whatever the, yeah. And, okay, I'm going to go back to Rachel. I don't know why you were down here. You should have been up there right next to your husband, partner. But amazed, I'm so glad she gave me this poem. She gave me a whole bunch of poems to choose from. And I picked 2. And I wish I could have picked more, but I didn't want to go too far off them. And for my friend Downing Pless. Downing's not here tonight. He lives in Boston. I always have to check with Barb, see where people live. And he worked with me on providing as much material as I could absorb and work with and pluck out. He and I had a theater company together, as I shared earlier, in Santa Barbara back in the old days. And he went through, he was a professor at Leading College in Boston. He's now retired. So he had time and he helped me quite a bit. So I wanted to thank him. And I want to thank all of you. I'm so wonderfully happy that all of you are here tonight, that every seat is taken. What a gift for me and Barb and the library and all of you, giving that to each other. So on your way out, there is a bibliography reflecting the books I referred to for quotes, sources, and beyond. I'm reading this, but I can't read this. I just hope, and there's a thing in Buddhism, you don't hope, but we won't go into that. And it would please me very much if you really continue reflecting on death and dying and what that means around the world, in our country, in your family, for the people closest to you, and for yourself. And let it melt, let it melt, let it melt in your heart. In your heart. Move from here to here as much as you can when you talked about death. And now please sit quietly for a few minutes. We're going to play a short song afterwards. And then just feel to linger, feel to leave, and please know that Barb and I are only very, very, very pleased to talk to you if there's anybody that just wants to chat after this. And remember this, I say this a lot, and I say it and people get annoyed. They say, Daryl, when are you going to stop that? Barb is very annoyed by it, but she never shows it. She's laughing. So it's this. It's not that we don't take life seriously enough. It's that we take it too seriously. So in the course of all this, we also have to laugh. But I am so beyond delighted to be able to talk publicly about death. And Barb and I want to take this elsewhere. We want to be able to do this, and we're looking at focusing on what's our county, Barb? Yeah, where do we? Yeah, in this county. Yeah, Caledonia County, and beyond in Vermont, and beyond, in as much as we can bring it beyond, because we need, this is my last, I'll finally stop talking. This is the last thing. We do need to know more about death. So thank you all for coming. Very, very, very.
die. I'm gonna laugh instead of cry. I'm gonna take the town and turn it upside down. I'm gonna live, live, live until I die. They're gonna say, what a guy. I'm gonna play for the sky. Ain't gonna miss a thing. I'm gonna have my fling. I'm gonna live, live, live until I die. The blues I lay low, I'll make 'em stay low. They'll never trail over my head. I'll be a devil till I'm an angel, but until then, hallelujah, gonna dance, gonna fly. I'll take a chance, riding high. Before my number's up, I'm gonna fill my cup. I'm gonna live, 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 live until I die. Those blues I lay low, I'll make 'em stay low. They'll never trail over my head. I'll be a devil till I'm an angel, but until then, hallelujah, gonna dance, gonna fly. I'll take a chance, riding high. Before my number's up, I'm gonna fill my cup. I'm gonna live, live, live.